Hey y'all, it's me, Kevvie! So over the summer, I decided to check out NetGalley, a platform for book reviewers to receive advanced reader copies in exchange for an honest review. I've so far read 3 books from NetGalley, and it has been rough. Here are my thoughts on these new and upcoming releases. My first NetGalley read was What She Knew by Miranda Rijks. I wanted to like this one so badly. I really did. It's got an excellent premise. This woman's bestie's murder is going to become the subject of a true crime documentary, and she begins to realize the case isn't as closed as it seemed. It started out with a dual timeline, flipping between the present and 10 years prior, just before the bestie's disappearance. But the dual timeline doesn't persist throughout the book. It's only in the early chapters. I did not like this writing style at all. I found this book very hard to read. Normally, I am a sprint reader, finishing a book as quickly as I can, but this book took me several weeks to finish because I just did not want to continue reading it. Honestly, I would have DNF'd this book if I weren't obligated to read and review it. As far as the mystery elements go, it was contrived and cliche. Perhaps that was the author's intent? If it were, I wish I'd known that, because then I could have appreciated it for the trash it was. Does the entire book build suspicions against one and only one character? Yeah. Is that character implicated? Yeah. Even if they didn't do the murder, they were directly involved. So there wasn't a surprise twist or anything. So I was really let down. Then there was a twist, but it was such a lame and irrelevant twist. It didn't change the stakes. It didn't impact the character dynamics. It was just unnecessary. So I gotta get into spoiler territory for a minute now, but I hate the way she winds up with Raoul at the end. My hope for the book was that while we are being led to believe the husband is suspicious, it was really Raoul who killed her. He was always just marginally present in the story, just enough for an avid mystery reader such as myself to think something might be up with him. That could have been an interesting twist for the novel, rather than, oh, it's the husband and the husband's friends, and the TV show guy isn't really doing a TV show. Oh, it was just absolutely atrocious. Easily among the worst books I've read this year. I don't think I could recommend this book to anybody. It is just bad. Next, I read Psycho by the Sea by Lynne Truss. I requested this book expecting a cozy mystery, but I was mistaken. It was more a police procedural sort of thing. The whole focus of the story is on this handful of cops. You know from the beginning who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. There isn't really a big twist or anything. You're just waiting to see if the bad guys get away with it or if the good guys stop them. It's about a police informant who goes missing and a bunch of other stuff. There were just too many things happening. I love when a mystery has a lot going on. Not just a one and done murder, but slowly building the mystery with higher and higher stakes. Kinda like what Mary Roberts Reinhardt does. That wasn't Psycho by the Sea at all, though. Rather than starting at a small event and building, it had all the events happen at once from the beginning. And we didn't know that they were all connected at the beginning, so it just felt disjointed and hard to follow. This book is 4th in a series, and I haven't read the first 3. My ARC came with a brief introduction explaining the returning characters a bit, but still took quite some time for me to get familiar with them. One thing that confused me was that despite the series being referred to as the Constable Twitten mysteries, his presence was no greater than any of the other detectives. So why is his name on the cover and not any of the others? I also gotta say I'm kinda confused about the title. I'm pretty sure who the psycho of the novel is, but I don't recall a single mention of the sea or ocean in the book. With the sea being in the title, I expected it to have more of a presence in the mystery. I'm not normally one to knock a book for using profanity. I believe that since profanity is common in reality, it's only natural for books to reflect that. However, they said Bali, way too Bali much in this book. I'd never even heard of that one before, but the fact that it was used 67 times is egregious. I get wanting to use language tics to convey personality, but this was just way too much Bali. So far this sounds like a pretty negative review, but I didn't hate it. It was a fine book and I enjoyed some of the characters. The late night conversations between Twitten and Mrs. G were really fun. And the axe-wielding cop killer brought some excellent color to the story, even if the colors were black and white. This isn't my preferred subgenre of mystery, but if you're a fan of cop books, then Psycho by the Sea would have a lot to offer. After that, I read Inheritance of Secrets by Sonya Bates. I was super excited to read Inheritance of Secrets when I first saw the cover and read the description. A woman's grandparents are murdered, and then she discovers they were Nazis. That sounded like a really cool premise, and I couldn't wait to read it. The first chapter was fine. Then at the second chapter, there was something I wasn't prepared for. A dual timeline from the Nazi grandfather's perspective. Now, I'm all for dual timelines most of the time. However, in this case, the second timeline's protagonist was a literal Nazi, and his love story. Y'all, this is literally a Nazi romance novel. What the fuck? Why would anybody write a novel with sympathetic Nazis? I don't care if they once helped an elderly German who was married to a Jew, or that after the war he thought the war had been a mistake. He still fought on the side of the Nazis, and is therefore a Nazi. The book spends a lot of time defending the grandfather, qualifying his actions. I can tell you right now that Karl Weiss was not a Nazi, and didn't commit any war crimes. He wasn't even a member of the Nazi Party. Yet this man was a member of Hitler Youth till he turned 18, when he joined the military to fight for the Nazis. So we're supposed to believe that you can fight on the side of Nazis without being a Nazi? Hell no. A Nazi is a Nazi, and if he was just complicit, he is still a Nazi. You know that saying, if there's 10 people sitting at a table and one of them is a Nazi, then there are 10 Nazis sitting at the table. Karl Weiss wasn't just sitting at the table, he was actively fighting in this war in the name of the fucking Nazis. Not only does this book attempt to make Nazis look sympathetic, it attempts to draw parallels between the discrimination against Jews during the war and discrimination against Nazis after the war. In the first flashback chapter, they show the grandparents as teens protecting an elderly woman during an air raid. And the rest of the bunker is refusing to let her in because she's married to a Jew, telling her that her kind aren't welcome there. Later, when the grandfather and his Nazi friends are emigrating to Australia on a boat, one of the Nazis starts spewing his Nazi nonsense, and the boat people respond that his kind aren't welcome there. Creating that sort of parallel between these two scenarios is disgusting. What the fuck? In addition to all of the Nazi sympathizer garbage that this book is stuffed with, it was also confusingly written. The flashbacks explain early on how the grandfather acquired this ring, but then the middle section of the present narrative is completely dedicated to uncovering whether or not the grandfather was the war criminal that stole the ring. That whole storyline is delivered like a tense thriller mystery kind of thing, but there was no tension to it because the reader had already been told the truth of how the grandfather got his ring. Overall, this is a book that should not have been written. Sure, the afterword explains how the author was inspired by her own Nazi grandparents, but this book could have easily been written without attempting to make a Nazi soldier look likable or respectable. I get that as a descendant of Nazis, like, she kind of personally needs to think that maybe her grandparents weren't so bad because of whatever reasons, but no, your grandparents were still fucking Nazis. But I'm not sorry for calling this shit what it is. Nazis do not deserve nuanced portraits, and to do so is inappropriate. So yeah, those are my thoughts on these 3 ARCs. It's a shame that the best of the bunch was just moderately okay, and 2 are among my worst reads of the year. I'm not giving up on NetGalley though. I've already got another downloaded and a few more requested. Have you used NetGalley before? Tell me about your experiences with it in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if it pleases and sparkles, I'll see you in the next video. Mwah!